Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more r/Yamada Butthole. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. This story is from Pearl Necklace Throwaway, who says, "Am I the asshole for giving my son my mother's necklace? I lost my parents when I was very young, and I've spent decades recovering from the trauma. One coping mechanism I had was holding on to all of their things. My parents were well off, and I inherited almost all of their possessions and assets. My therapist and I have talked about why I feel the need to cling on to these things that have no use to me, and I've said I might be open to giving some of their things to someone who would use and treasure them. I don't have a concrete plan or timeline for doing so though. My mother owned a pearl necklace that was passed down from mother to daughter for generations. My great-great-grandmother brought it with her to America when her family fled Germany, so obviously it has immense sentimental value. My mother didn't have a daughter, so the necklace, like everything else, has been sitting in my house for decades, unworn. So, onto my son. He is very into style and fashion. He wears lots of different types of outfits. He'll wear a suit and tie to a work function, and then a miniskirt and mesh shirt to go clubbing with his friends. He wears jewelry sometimes and owns a few elegant, classy pieces. No pearls though. A few months ago, my son was showing me an all-white suit he bought to wear to a friend's party. It was a really nice suit, and all of a sudden, I was struck with the idea that my mother's pearls would look great with that suit. So I went and got them. My son became very emotional, and I decided that he should have the pearls to keep. I don't wear necklaces, but he does. I think my mother would want him to have the pearls. When I talked to my therapist about this, she said I made a huge step forward in processing my grief. Now that I've made that first step, it feels a lot more doable to go through my parents' other things. I feel good about my decision." My cousin, mum's niece, called me today, livid. She said I shouldn't have given the pearls to my son. She said if they went to anyone, they should go to her or her sister. She claims that they've now left the family. I don't really understand her perspective. I get that the pearls are supposed to go from mother to daughter, not father to son, but that chain was already broken when my mum died without a daughter. I don't see how niece is better than grandson in this scenario. Still, my cousin is a really nice person, so there must be something I'm not getting. Is this like a woman thing? Can a woman explain why I might be the arsehole? And we do have an update to this post, but in my opinion, absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. I mean, the pearls were yours. They were passed down to you to do what you wish. And the comment that she made about, leaving the family is absolutely not true. They're going to your son. Of course they're being passed down. And the only thing I would have said is as long as your son knows the sentimental value of these pearls, which it sounds like he does because he's very emotional about it. And with these things, I'm always sort of glad that they're being used, and worn and appreciated, rather than the memory just sat in a drawer or something like that. But that's just a personal opinion of mine. When my mum passed away, she was a big fan of gold jewelry, like necklaces and bracelets and stuff like that. She had gold watches, and I used to joke with her that I used to call her Mr. T. and when she wasn't wearing this jewelry, she used to put it on it's like a tree, a golden tree where she could hang necklaces and stuff on, and she used to keep it on there. We used to just call it the jewelry tree. And the only one of us that really appreciated wearing jewelry and stuff was my niece. So in the end, this jewelry tree got passed on to my niece because she will wear the jewelry and she will treasure it like that, whereas I wouldn't. It's a memory, but it's not one that I think I need to hold on to because I'm my mum. I'd rather, someone's wearing it and appreciating that jewelry, and the stuff that my mum loved and treasured is still being used in a way that's loved and treasured as well. But again, just my opinion and me going off on one. But the comments say, whereas Beezy says, "I almost cried reading this. I thought that was really sweet. I don't understand why your son having them means they aren't still in the family. I say they are. Not the arsehole." To which OP replies saying, well, her logic is that he isn't a daughter, but neither am I, and that he doesn't have that side of the family's last name, but neither do I. So I'm thinking that maybe she always assumed she would get the necklace when I was done processing my grief for my mum. Like she thought she was doing me a favour by giving me time to grieve, and then felt I gave away what was rightfully hers. That's the theory I have right now after spending the last hour dwelling on it. Hay says, as a woman I can firmly say not the arsehole. They were passed down in your family. She's a branch family, there is nothing entitling her or her daughter to the pearls. Just make sure your son understands the value and passes them on to one of his kids. OP replies to him, my son actually is adopted. Maybe that's the real reason for her objection. She's always accepted him as part of the family though, but this sort of has me questioning how she really feels. Gianni says, not the arsehole, they were yours. You had them for decades. They are not leaving the family at all. Such a weird comment from them. Kawaii says, not the arsehole, if your mother had meant for the necklace to go to your cousin or a sister, she would have left it to them in her will. The way your cousin expressed it was with a lot of entitlement. It's a family heirloom. It was passed down with love to the next generation. If she wanted it, she could have reached out at any time to ask. I also don't understand how she imagines they left the family. Your son is part of the family. And one more from Tenias who says, not the arsehole, and good on you for learning enough about fashion from your son to recognize a good pearl moment. Now, let's move on to the update to find out what happened next. So this update came 3 days later. It said several people suggested getting the pearls restrung. My son did take them to a jeweler's prior to wearing them to a party because he assumed the silk would be in poor shape after so many years. After reading all these comments, I called to offer to have them restrung, but he already had. I insisted on reimbursing him since a gift should be given in good quality. But this update is really about my cousin. We had lunch today and talked about everything, so a little more backstory with that side of the family. My mother's brothers didn't approve of her decision to marry my father. They didn't go to the wedding and my mother wasn't invited to my cousin's coming of age party. I was 5 at the time, so I don't remember it very well, but my mum was really upset and wrote a long letter to my cousin, that she still has. She showed it to me. After that, my cousin stopped talking to her father for years. My mother's funeral was the first time they spoke after that, and he died a few years later. My cousin expressed feeling guilt over not having any children and not passing on our heritage. She said that she's worried that everything her father thought would happen to our family has, that we have assimilated too much, being passed over for the pearls, which she was never truly in line for, but I didn't want to be pedantic, felt like a punishment to her. Now they belong to someone outside the tribe, and she's worried the history of them, the story of what our ancestors went through, will eventually be lost to time. We both expressed a lot of grief to each other, and I think we gave each other some much needed catharsis. But, without a doubt, her objections weren't based in greed or prejudice, just sadness and fear. She said she wouldn't bring up the pearls again, as it's a done thing now. I offered her some other pieces of my mother's I thought she might like, and she said she needed to think about it. We parted on good terms, even laughing about how it's good we hash this out now, before we all get wasted together in a couple of weeks. A lot of people thought my cousin was a bad person based on my previous post, and I feel terrible about that. She really isn't, she's just grieving. I think that's everything, but if I forgot to address something, you can ask about it in the comments. Oh, and I did give the earrings to my daughter, as well as my dad's watch to my second son, his class ring to my third, cufflinks, heirloom to my fourth, and my mum's bracelet she got the day I was born to my youngest, so everyone got something. And I'm glad they got all that out in the open in the end and came together about it. But what was really impressive towards the end there as he was reading off, what was passed on to other family members is, in the original post he talked about his grief and he was struggling to give away these possessions, and now it seems like he's come forward leaps and bounds with it as well, which I think is a wonderful thing for him. And I'm very glad they talked about their cousin, and that it wasn't out of greed or anything like that, just grief. I've heard of many stories personally as well. I used to work with someone who went through a very traumatic time, and their father-in-law had passed away, and then his wife and her sister was arguing over the medals that was left from the Second World War. One sister wanted them sort of hung up and put on her walls to display, whereas the other sister was like getting really angry about it. Not his wife, it was the other one, was getting really angry about it and says, no, I deserve them as I'm the older sister. And eventually did get them because my friend's wife didn't want to argue about it. And then these medals apparently were just put in a storage, and have never been seen again, basically. Incredibly sad in some ways. But what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story is from Why the Drama, and it does come with an update as well. It's titled, Am I the Arsehole for refusing to show my brother and his soon-to-be wife what my girlfriend has chosen to wear to their wedding? What a title. My male 30 brother, male 32, and his fiancée, female 26, are getting married at the end of the month. My girlfriend, female 32, is my +1. We've been together for 6 months and she's great. Yesterday I was at my brother's to help him set up new shelves in the kitchen. That's when he told me his fiancée had a request. The fiancée asked me what my girlfriend is planning to wear on the wedding because honestly, she dresses provocatively and she might wear something inappropriate. She asked me if it was okay that we showed her, the bride, my girlfriend's outfit for approval. I'm aware about weddings demanding a certain dress code and there's a lot of rules involved. But I was a bit shocked about her request. I thought it was a bit disrespectful, to be honest. My girlfriend is a very beautiful woman who loves fashion. I haven't noticed that she's ever been inappropriate. Maybe she likes the mini dress and the low back occasionally, but it can be in the right environment, like on a night out or a date with me. Otherwise she's very modest, barely wears makeup, plus she knows fashion and she's probably aware of the rules of weddings. I didn't feel like the bride's request was okay, so I told her, no way that I'm going to ask my girlfriend that. The bride got a bit sulky and didn't talk much to me the rest of the evening. I went to my girlfriend afterwards for dinner, and while we were preparing, we started talking about the wedding. I asked her if she had bought something for the wedding and she said she didn't have to. She had a lot of dresses and she already had chosen one. Show me, and she did. She's chosen an olive green midi dress with high collar. It was perfect. I texted my brother and soon-to-be wife that the dress was modest so they could chill. This morning, the bride called me asking me to send her a pic of the dress. What are you still on about? No, I saw the dress and it's perfect. You should take my word for it. She was raging mad, crying that I'm trying to ruin her wedding. Are you going to ask all the 150 guests to send a picture of their outfits for approval? To which the response was no, only your girlfriend likes wearing sluttish outfits, to which I hung up. I texted my brother that my girlfriend didn't need to come to the wedding since the relationship was new, and when they sent me the save the date I was still single, so it just said +1. He texted me back saying I'm a D. Soon to be sister-in-law also text calling me a D. Here's where I might have been an arsehole. I could have just sent a pic to calm them down, but I didn't, because what they are asking is a bit hurtful. Even if I did it behind my girlfriend's back to avoid hurting her feelings, it's still disrespectful to sneak around. They should have just trusted my judgment. So, am I the arsehole? And then we have a picture of the dress, and looks like a standard wedding dress to me. Pretty nice dress as far as dresses go in my opinion, so I think that's appropriate. How about you? And then there was an edit which said I was asked to include this in my post. My girlfriend wore a very revealing dress on my 30th birthday. That was the first and only time my sister-in-law and my girlfriend met. It was a designer dress. Miu Miu? I don't know how to pronounce that. That cost $4,000 that my girlfriend could borrow from one of her stylist friends. She was so happy because she would never afford a dress like that, and honestly, I was happy for totally different reasons I will keep to myself. That dress is probably the start of this shitstorm. I still can't understand the bride since these are two very different occasions. And then we have a picture of that birthday dress, and to me there's just nothing wrong with that dress either. And it's one of those situations where I'm trying to put myself, in OP's shoes, and this is before we go to the update by the way. I'm trying to put myself into OP's shoes, and you've got a girlfriend, and I'm trying to picture going up to her and saying, I need to take a picture in your dress for approval from the bride. I mean, that doesn't sound normal at all to me, and very much sounds like Bridezilla territory. And it just feels like bride, as I was reading the story anyway, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but to me it just felt like the bride is or will be jealous no matter how girlfriend looks. She just sounds like she's jealous of her as a person, of her fashion style, the way she dresses, and maybe just of her beauty in general. But before we move on to the update, we're going to cover a couple of comments. Chromatographic87 says, not the arsehole, you did right. As a woman, I'd be very offended if someone took a picture of my outfit like that and approved it behind my back. You respected your girlfriend's privacy while attempting to defuse the situation with the bride-to-be. It's not your fault that they disagree. Adriana Dre says, oops, bride is jealous of your girlfriend's beauty. Sounds like she's insecure. Should she be getting married? Not the arsehole. Safe Frosting says, not the arsehole, but you should have had a conversation with your brother asking why she has such low self-esteem, that she needs to ask you that, and you're right to call her out on her behavior. She's being a bridezilla. Bostonia says, not the arsehole, sounds like your future sister-in-law will be jealous of your girlfriend regardless of what she wears. Then a highlighted comment from Purple Midnight Yak, who says, I'm just here to laugh at the pics of the model of the black dress. Make sure to swipe through past the first pic. Edit. I'm glad to know everyone else got as much enjoyment out of those pics as I did, lol. Let's go and have a scroll to see what we're looking at here. So again, we start off with the normal black dress, and then let's just click the little next there and... What the hell? Can't be serious. What was going on in that photography studio? We got a nice dress here. An expensive, nice dress. I know what we need on this one. Some thigh-high furry boots. And is that a hat on her head? I can't work out what that is. And I mean, I gotta say, she looks equally unimpressed. Oh, you have to excuse me, I'm not the fashion police, but I ain't seen those before. I've never seen furry boots that high before. But anyway, let's move on to the update to find out what happened next. So, I want to start by saying thank you for the not the arsehole, and here's my update. I thought I needed to make one since a lot of things happened. My brother texted me asking, how shall I solve this? I didn't text him back. I was meeting my girlfriend later that day and I thought I could call him afterwards. When I was at my girlfriend's, I asked if she accepted to be my +1 because she wanted or just for my sake. She said if she was being honest, she was doing it for me. She said since I'm one of the groomsmen, she would be alone and she knew nobody. She was a bit nervous. I told her she was off the hook and she was surprised but pleased. I texted my friend, Steven, and asked him to be my date to the wedding, and he was game. On my way home, I called my brother and told him that girlfriend is out, Steve in. He was silent for a moment and then said, why did you have to do this? I told him, I'm serious about this woman. If she's to be a part of our family, I don't want her to know that your first impression of her was that she's a slut. I did not appreciate your judgment of her and I wasn't going to risk hurting her feelings, not even a little bit over a dress. You insinuated that she's inappropriate. I rejected your hypothesis. I tried to be nice, even if I didn't need to, and investigated about the dress and reported back to you. That should have been good enough, but there's no harm done. I'm happy to bring Steve with me. Do you want a picture of what he's planning to wear? He laughed and then asked me, why'd you have to be so difficult, man? I told him I wasn't the one being difficult. You invited 150 people. There's no way in hell you could control all of them. Instead of enabling her behavior, you should help your wife overcome her insecurities. She's a beautiful lady and doesn't need to feel jealous or threatened by my girlfriend or any other woman. That's when I heard something like a banshee screaming. I almost drove off the road. My idiot brother had put me on speaker this whole time and future sister-in-law heard everything, including me calling her insecure. I panicked and drove directly to their house. Future sister-in-law was in the bathroom crying and my brother was furious. I apologized probably 100 times before she opened the door and let me in. I swore I was joking and it wasn't even a good joke. She didn't stop crying. I kissed her forehead and begged her to forgive me. My brother told me she'd calm down eventually, so yeah, I fucked up real bad. Now I have a lot of damage control to do. Maybe try to upgrade their honeymoon flight to first class or ask the bridesmaids if I could fund their bridal shower or maybe, I don't know. Any advice is appreciated. And I got to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed by the update in some ways. Yeah, no one likes to hear that they're insecure, but in some ways it was a bit of a reality check for her. And it was the brother that put her on speakerphone to begin with. You wasn't being difficult, you was right. He's enabling her attitude towards all this. And at some point, maybe, hopefully, girlfriend is going to be a part of your family. So, you know, At family events, they will see each other, and what's she gonna do? Want to check her clothing before every event? And then afterwards, you had to fly round his house and somehow act like the husband, kiss her on the forehead, and tell her you're sorry and pay for an upgrade on their honeymoon. Hell no. Hell no. But what do you guys make of this one? What do you think of the update? What do you think of the dress and the boots and the hat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the channel. Your love, time and support always means the world to me. 80,000 subscribers we hit like a couple of days ago. Absolutely amazing of you. Thank you so much for your love, time and support, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today